The universities have taught the next generation of American farmers to get big or get out. The whole mantra has been get big or get out. Get efficient, get big or get out. Learn how to use antibiotics. Learn EST hormones. Use the basis from ethanol plants that produce ethanol for our cars nowadays. Use those ethanol byproducts, distillers' grains. Kind of like the 1800s. Do all that, and then you do it very, very efficiently. Where you have 10,000 cows in a small footprint of ground, and you mechanize everything, and you have all these technologies you use to get lots of milk out of your cows for short periods of time. You milk your cows 3 or 4 times a day. The cows only last 42 months or so, 3.5 years before they're butchered. They go off the hamburger at McDonald's. That's what's being taught in their universities to our students. And the facility is basically a CAFO. It's a confinement animal feeding operation, CAFO. And they have huge lagoons associated with them that often leach into groundwater and screws up our groundwater because of the nitrates that go in, and the other the ureas and the various different things that are the waste byproducts of the cows, and also the cleansers that are used in the dairy, all leach into our water supply. So they're not good for the water supply. They have a tremendous amount of volatile waste that come off all the methane gases and so on and so forth that are volatile in the environment, which are not good either. So you fly over the San Joaquin Valley. In fact, I'm putting up a video in a couple of days showing me flying over these CAFO facilities, showing this wasteland of brown dirt with not a blade of grass anywhere near it. And then you fly over Organic Pastures Dairy, it's only grass. And it's just a completely different world. And, what we do at Organic Pastures Dairy is we carbon sequester. I mean, the grass is a wonderful carbon sequestering place where carbons are sequestered and carbon dioxide is eliminated. When you go to those big dairies, they have methane being created, and they're creating all kinds of problems with waste products that are getting in the environment, not helping with. They're liberating carbons, they're not sequestering them. So I mean, it's working against Mother Nature versus for Mother Nature. And that's the big conflict is, are we going to work against Mother Nature and use antibiotics in our children and cause ear infections and asthma and all that kind of stuff? Or are we going to work with Mother Nature and have healthy children using raw milk and good whole foods and actually develop a child which is working in concert with Mother Nature, which is a healthy child? So are you going to fight with Mother Nature or are you going to make friends with Mother Nature? That's the bottom line.
Well, you presented some very compelling, logical arguments for someone who might be on the fence about raw milk or concerned or a bit skeptical to seriously consider incorporating this into their diet. In fact, it's hard for me to imagine someone who's committed to rational, objective thought not to reach the conclusion this is something that they're going to want to use for themselves personally and for their family. So if, in fact, a person who's listening to this has reached that conclusion and does not live in one of the states where it is legal to buy raw food at the grocery store, how would they go about identifying a source? Because I'm sure you get this question all the time, and it is illegal technically by federal standards to transport raw milk across state lines, so they have to find a local source, which is probably not a bad idea anyway to support your local farmer. The crux of the question I'm asking is, how do you identify the farmer? But because you actually answered the second part of the question earlier when you gave us the criteria on how you qualify the farmer once you found it. One, you might have to go through half a dozen to find someone who meets the criteria that you've established.
Well, what I would recommend is go to a website called realmilk.com. Realmilk.com has literally a chapter-by-chapter listing of places across the United States, in every state, many of the cities have a listing of where you can get raw milk locally across the United States. And internationally, there's also connections as well. But you're going to have to network to find out where the raw milk is. In California, you can go to organicpastures.com, put in your zip code, and find raw milk literally around the block. In other states, you may or may not be able to do that. You kind of have to search it out. But realmilk.com is a great place to do that. Also, there's a symposium coming up in Madison, Wisconsin on the 9th and 10th of April, 10th, 11th of April. It's the second International Raw Milk Symposium. And it's a powerful, powerful place to learn more about it. If you're anywhere near Madison, Wisconsin, come to see the second International Raw Milk Symposium, and there's a website with the same name. It's put on by the Weston A. Price Foundation as well as the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. And it's a powerful way to understand all the issues going on with raw milk, understand the arguments being made. I'll be one of the speakers there. Literally, it's a freedom fight as well as a nutrition fight. And I have to embrace a couple people here. Tom Vilsack, the Secretary of Agriculture for the USDA, has said, get to know your farmer, get to know your food. Raw milk cannot be a better example of doing that. get to know your farmer, get to know your food. It's a local thing. Wherever you have raw milk in the United States or anywhere internationally, you always see a wonderful wellspring, an upspring of growth economy. You have economic growth, you have jobs, you have well-fed people, you have well-paid people, healthy children. Raw milk is a promise for the future in terms of a localization of an economy and actually getting new money started into an economy that's kind of dead in the water and getting people healthy. So I would go to realmilk.com and search out a local source.
Well, I couldn't agree more. In fact, as we have this new healthcare legislation passed, which really doesn't do anything to get people healthier, but really just promotes more of the same, and inevitably will result in people getting sicker because they're going to be relying on a conventional drug-based model. Unfortunately, the logistics of getting this material out in audio format would be likely that it will occur after that symposium in Madison, Wisconsin. So, is there a place that people can purchase the audio tapes or find out the material that was presented at the conference?
Yes, they'll be available on the Second International Symposium conference website.
I really thank you for what you're doing. You really are a pioneer. I hadn't realized that you actually had created the largest producer of organic raw milk in the world. That's just such a phenomenal achievement, and you're really doing a lot, more than you probably realize, to facilitate a massive move towards health and a consciousness that's really going to provide resistance against disease and a whole variety of other complications by promoting this. I mean, you're a very eloquent articulator of the value of this work and this food.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. And there's a great website to go to. It's called CaliforniaRawMilk.org. And it shows all the testimonials of people talking about how raw milk has affected their lives positively. CaliforniaRawMilk.org has nothing to do with organic pasture dairy, but it's a great place to go visit other people that have great experience with raw milk. So I really appreciate you having me on your show, and I have the deepest regard for you guys. You do great work, Doctor, and thank you for all that you do and leading what you're doing with alternative medicine and complementary medicine and nutritional medicine, because it's where we got to go to prevent disease in our country.